All right, and we are live. All right, guys. So, yeah, this is our second or third episode. I'm not really sure. We don't even have a name yet, but we're just kind of making it up as we go. So, yeah, I'll let Chris do the introduction. So we got Jevon Balfour. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Perfectly.
All right, awesome.
Jevon Balfour. So he's a member of the Brock wrestling team. He's a 5-time defending national champion. He's a Commonwealth Games silver medalist as well as a bronze medalist, Pan Am Games bronze medalist. He's competed at the World Championships numerous times, competed against the who's who in the 74 kilogram weight class. Jordan Burroughs, many of the elites, and he's making his run for the Olympics, which are now going to be held in 2021 with this strange situation we're in. He had quite the year with sustaining an eye injury, which had him have to have a wrestle off to earn his spot. He came back from that, and Jevon Balfour, this podcast is about mindset. So we're going to talk to Jevon about mindset, because he is has one of the strongest mindsets of anyone I've ever coached or been a part of his career. So
Appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome, Jevon. I'll just open it up with a question right off the bat.
Why is my hair like this? Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I'll open it up with a question right off the bat. How'd you get started in the sport of wrestling? When did you start wrestling?
I started wrestling in grade 9. The way I got started is I wanted to do like some kind of physical activity when I was in high school, because growing up I never really was part of any teams or anything. So I'm like, man, let me try it for a bunch of teams. Tried out for a bunch of teams, made a couple cuts, and then like I remember my friend Lenford, he comes up to me, he's like, yo man, you should try wrestling. Da, 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 da. I'm like, why should I try wrestling? And then he's just like, man, it's sick, blah blah blah. You love like messing around. It's like cool. And I'm like, but don't they wear those like attires, those like tight stuff? And then he's just like, yeah, but like get past that. We don't wear that during practice, blah blah blah. And then I was just like, I don't know about this one, man. And then he's like, just come try it out. And then the coach actually, one day he saw me in the hallway. I was like messing around with someone. He's like, hey, stop that. Take your extra energy out on like something else. He's like, you know what? You're coming to practice. So he like pulled me to practice. And I first go to practice. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. I get in there. I start moving around. Then one of my longtime friends were in there, Denzel, and he's started wrestling in like grade 6. And he was in there, and like I haven't seen him since like grade 3, grade 4, those times, like elementary school. And then he was like showing me some stuff, and like I always used to like play wrestle with this guy and like beat him up. And then like he was showing me like just little stuff. They were showing me like do a half Nelson. So I did a half Nelson, and then he puts his foot out to the side. I'm like, what? Why can't I put this guy over? I know I'm stronger than him. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, there's like so much techniques that I need to learn. So like, I'm like, I'll just keep like trying to learn and pick stuff up and like continue with the sport. Like I never really thought it'd be something big. So
That's cool. So you never really like got into it because you had like a relative that wrestled or anything like that, or you never like watched the Olympics and had dreams to be an Olympian one day. You just literally got into it because you were kind of told to come to practice.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
And like my cousin used to watch like WWE or WWF at the time it was.
Yeah.
And he used to watch that all the time. And I used to always like sit down and watch it with him. I'm like, man, this stuff is so lame. Da, 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 da. And then all my family members would be like, I thought he would be the one to like do any sort of like wrestling, not you. And then I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah. You talked about the singlet. Like that's a real thing at that age. It's like knowing that you have to do that. Like, I don't know. I almost quit the sport so many times because I knew I had to do like compete in that thing. Yeah.
It's crazy though, because the whole year we went without it, wrestled at tournaments, got lost to a bunch of guys in singlets. And then I remember when
did you wear the shorts and the running shoes your first year?
Shorts and running shoes.
Yeah.
I wore like some Puma indoor soccer shoes. That was pretty hilarious. But yeah, I remember at the end of the year, like near like our home tournament, it was in November or something. He's like, yeah, I want you guys to all have the singlets. So I ordered a bunch in, and then we were all so excited, and like it was such a big transition from being like,
Oh yeah.
I don't want to wear that to like, yo, I need my singlet kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then the coach opened the box, it was giving out the sizes, and then I was like, oh, can I get a medium? And then he's just like, oh, there's no more mediums. You want a large? I'm like, sure. He looks in the box, no large. And he's like, do you want a small? He looks in the box, no small. He's like, oh shoot, we only have extra larges left. He's like, you don't get one. I was literally like kind of devastated. It was kind of weird because at first I didn't want to wear it, and now I'm like, no, I need to wear this. But
do you remember getting your first national team singlet?
Yeah,
That's a big moment, eh?
Pretty big moment. I remember being like, oh, I just need my last name on the back of my singlet. That's all I wanted.
Yeah. That's funny. So Jevon, the school he grew up at, they have like a really strong wrestling program. They still do. Head coach Kelman.
Chris Kelman.
Yeah, he's produced some champions for sure, and we've been fortunate enough to have some recruits come from that program. I want to talk a little bit about just talking about mindset. What did you learn from Kelman? And because obviously he's doing something right there, and ingraining it. And I mean, even still to this day, before you go out there and compete, you got your own little ritual that you do all the time. We see you out there, and after your matches, you do your push-ups and stuff like that. So I want to talk a little bit about that. What he ingrained in you.
It's super crazy because like Kelman's coaching style and like Marty's coaching style is like really similar. They have like their differences, but with Kelman, he like really like believes in like treat every single time you go into that mat the same. It doesn't matter who you're wrestling. You don't need to know who you're wrestling. Like every single time you go on that mat, you're pretending like you're wrestling the best person ever. It doesn't matter if it's the worst person ever. And he made sure like that we never like got too confident. He like as soon as we started like hitting like a high horse, he'd be like, yo, shut that down. But then with Kelman, I don't even know how to explain it. He just like made us feel so like confident, yet like kept us like humble at the same time. And it's like every time I go into the mat, I'm like, all right, like I know I have the capabilities. I've been practicing. This guy's been practicing as well. Like I just got to put my best out there, and like hopefully the outcome becomes in my favor.
Yeah, and we've talked about this, Jevon, but like, you know, I think that you had some great coaching, but even like as a child, like how much do you think is attributed to like, you know, the way you were brought up? Do you think that had something to do with it as well as that? Like, I mean, because you really do. And just to share, I'll just share a quick story with, not to cut off my question, but a quick story about Jevon. One of the first times I realized how strong this guy was mentally, not to blow his head up right now, but it was now, I think it was your second national championship, and you had Sean Day Finley in the finals, and you had your beats, and he'd always get ready for his matches, and he would listen to his music and stuff. And this time, I think your headphones were dead or something, and I was like, oh, let me go find some batteries, or what do I got to do? And you're like, no, it's fine. So you would always listen to music before you competed, and then it's the national championships in the finals, then your headset goes dead. So you had that like routine that you were always doing, but then once it wasn't gonna happen for you, you're like, oh, whatever, I'm good. Like you were just so easy going to let that go, even though it was a routine that you obviously did. So I realized at that time, like you have a great mindset, and like nothing's gonna phase you when it comes to that shit. So to go back to my question, do you think a lot of it had to do with Kelman and the stuff he taught you, and how much had to do with your childhood and your upbringing?
No, 100%. That's like a good point, because like to this day, like it doesn't matter what it is. Like I believe that everything happens for a reason. Maybe like my headphones died because they wanted me to like really focus in. I don't know like why anything happened. I'm just saying like everything happens for like a certain reason, and like I truly believe in that. So like at that moment when my headphones probably died, I probably just thought, all right, like throw my headphones away.
Yeah.
Just focusing on the match. You don't need to worry about your headphones, kind of thing, Like I know like that year too, I just moved up to 74, and he had beaten me twice.
He beat you at the Guelph Open.
At the New York City tournament, I think it was, or Bill Schultz.
I thought it was Guelph. Tournament.
And then at Guelph, I wrestled him, and then he beat me on the front side. I beat him on the back side.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I knew it was gonna go in. I'm like, if I mess up, I'm losing. If I wrestle well, I'm gonna win. And like, the music isn't like a big deal for me per se. Like, if it if I don't have it, I don't have it. If I do have it, I just like getting in like a rhythm. But I know like once I'm like in a rhythm, I can like keep that rhythm going, and like in my head, I'm just like on like a steady, like, I don't even know how to explain it. This is like, it just like in my head, it just looks like this. It's just like nothing's like going up and down. I'm not getting too excited, not getting too nervous, just like compete. And like from my childhood, I think it's just like with my siblings, they always used to like, not really, yeah, they used to pick on us a lot. They used to like bully us, beat us up all the time, like get us in trouble. And like, I don't know, I think it just built character, right? It's like came from a place where it's like, I know like they don't mean anything by it. They're just like being who they are. And then me, I'm just like, all right, just like learn to handle it. And like, I just like think learning to be able to like handle that kind of stuff is like made my tolerance a little bit higher. So like it's good for sports where it's like you don't let anything get to you, so you don't start not performing at your best.
Yeah, I think that that's huge. I know maybe it may not seem like a lot to some people, but that story that Chris shared, like that can derail a lot of people going into competitions. It's happened to me going into like a tournament, and it's like you have your pre-tournament ritual or whatever, and things don't go perfectly, and you just kind of let it spiral, or you start making those excuses. Like, yeah, the fact that you have the presence of mind to block that out, and it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, I think that's huge, and like that kind of speaks to your determination.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And it's cool because you get to see that, like, you talk about that, everything happens for a reason, and it's that, like, that mindset that also allowed you to, I mean, and this was crazy because for anyone that doesn't know the injury that Jevon had, he sustained like a serious eye injury and a detached retina, and he was like face down, like, like those massage table things where you just have your eyes like this. You had to lay like face down for like how many hours a day for how many weeks? Like,
I could only lift my head up for 10 minutes of every hour. So
Jeez.
and how long did that go on for?
it was for 9 days or 10 days.
So
Yeah.
this happened, like, I mean, Jevon's tried to qualify for the Olympics like the last time around, and he missed by like this much to go to the last Olympics. And then just before the Olympic trials for this one, he had this eye injury, and at one point he was, it was looking like he was never going to wrestle again or be able to wrestle again, and for certain he wasn't going to be able to wrestle this Olympic trials and potentially never be able to wrestle again. And the way he handled it was crazy. Most people that are especially in that situation where you had won nationals the previous 3 years, so you were ranked number one, you hadn't lost domestically in that cycle, or maybe once in that whole cycle. So undoubtedly the top ranked wrestler at 74 kilos to go to the Olympics, and then was, sidelined with the eye injury. Talk a little bit about that and like what you went through and how you were able to, like, we had some conversations and stuff, but like how you were able to just like keep it together through that time and end up coming through the way you did.
Same thing. Everything happens for a reason. Like obviously, like I still don't know the reason why that happened, but I think when I found out, I was like, oh shoot, like this is crazy. And it was right before World Championships. I'm like, man, like I wanted to go to these World Championships. Like I felt so good going in. Like I was starting to like finally like wrestle like really well again, because I remember there was like a period where like I was wrestling really well. Then last year my back hit, and then I wasn't wrestling the same for a while. And then I started like really catching that groove of wrestling really well. I'm like, man, like I'm about to like make like some serious noise at these World Championships. And then I found out before like Pan Am Games that like there was something wrong with my eye, but then at the moment we didn't think it was that serious. So when we found out, they're like, all right, like you have two choices: you can wrestle the Pan Am Games, get it looked at after. The surgery will be quick, and like you'll be able to compete at the World Championships, or you can do it now, miss the Pan Am Games, and then go to World Championships. Like, well, obviously I'm going to go to the Pan Am Games. Like if I can still get the surgery after, they're like, yeah, for sure. So we did that, got the surgery, and at a certain time the surgery was only for the cataract. And the cataract developed through the detached retina. So when that happened, it was just like inflammation, and like the cataract was trying to protect my eye kind of thing. So they took the cataract out. They looked into my eye a little bit more and they saw it was detached retina. They told me, and then they're like, yeah, like, so we got to do the surgery. We don't know what would happen. So then they fixed they fixed the detached retina. They went through the process of like telling me like my options and telling me like, okay, well, the chance of you wrestling are pretty low because we don't know how like stable the retina will be. We don't know if it will stay attached. We don't know what will happen. So we're going to have you in every week to like make sure, look at your eye and whatnot. So we go in every week. And then I remember talking to Perke after, like, I was face down. I came back to St. Catharines, and he's just like, man, it's like, what are you going to do? I was like, well, like, I don't know. Like, they told me I can't wrestle, so I can't wrestle. Like, that's just what it is. Like, my eye health is way more important than wrestling for like another year, right? Because in my head, I still only plan to wrestle till 2020, even before 2016 was my goal. And I'm like, I'm done at 2016 kind of thing. And then 2020 came around, didn't make it. I'm like, okay, I'm doing 2020 and that's it for me. So, getting back on track. So like talking to Preke, I'm telling him like, yeah, I won't wrestle. And I go to the doctors the next week. He's like, yeah, like your eye looks like it's staying attached. So that's a really good sign, blah, blah, blah. So then I start moving around the mats. And then the doctor asked me, he's like, have you been doing anything physical? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I've been like wrestling a little bit. He's like, yeah, like it looks fine so far, like so good, blah, blah, blah. And then came trials time and I was like steady training now. Went to the doctors maybe like a couple of days before. And he's just like, honestly, like your retina looks really good. I don't know how the vision is. He does a vision test. And he's like, the vision's not great, but that wouldn't stop you from wrestling. It's like completely up to you. I'm not going to give you that choice right now. Personally, he said personally, he thinks like he wouldn't, obviously, because he's a doctor, right? So he like always looking out for the health factor a little bit higher than like the individual is. But then, yeah, so then he was talking to me about it. I'm just like, I'll give it a shot. And then he's like, but I don't want you to do it so soon. He does like, I don't want you to like compete in like 4 days. And I was like, all right, cool. He's like, I'm like, can you write me a note saying like, you'll give me another exam in like a month? And he said, yeah, for sure. And I had qualified for a wrestle off. I met a certain amount of criteria points. And when I found that out and handed in the letter, they gave me the wrestle off. They gave me the day and started training hard again, blah, blah, blah. The doctor confirmed me to like compete. They wanted me to wear goggles. So to get back to the main question, is just going through it was just like, it was a big challenge for sure. But I feel like I kind of needed it. Maybe that was the reason it happened. Like I needed it just for like my body's sake. Like wrestling's a tough sport. You need to like be devoted like mentally and physically like every day, like for so long, right? It's like through the summer, like a lot of sports takes break, but I don't know, we didn't have those breaks. And like my mindset is like really like kind of weird. It's like I always have to be doing something. Like I can't go to sleep at night without like getting like a workout in, right? So like that on top of like the wrestling is like even worse because Marty will be like, okay, you guys take a break today and I won't take a break. And then sooner or later it catches up to you, right? So I feel like going through it is just like, I just thought to myself, I'm like, all right, this is my downtime. Just relax, just take your time, see what happens kind of thing.
Well, it definitely tested like how bad you wanted this sport and to have this Olympic, birth and all that, because it for sure could have been a way out. Like that could have been, you could have easily just said, man, this wasn't in my cards. Like I did everything I could. I sustained this injury, my friends, my loved ones, my coaches, my teammates, they all know I could do it. Maybe it was a way that like, this was like, no, I still want this. And I don't know, but whatever the reason was, like, yeah, you handled it like a pro. Came back, got ready for his Olympic wrestle off, and won 2 matches straight against the gentleman from out west, and qualified for the spot to represent Canada in the qualification tournaments. And now that's kind of where we're at now with this pandemic and all that. The 2 qualifying tournaments that are remaining for Jevon to compete in, they're postponed until this is all over. So by the sounds of it, you will get the chance to wrestle in those 2 tournaments, right? Is that all? As long as it all goes well, because he's dealing with some
Legal issues,
political stuff to do with, he has to wear goggles while he wrestles, because like the chance of getting his eye poked and the risk of that retina detaching, I guess, are a lot higher now. So there's just some like political stuff. We don't need to get into that stuff too much, but that's mostly what we wanted to touch on. So now moving forward and stuff, what do you think you have to do with your training and to get ready? Like just talking about mindset and your preparation, what do you have to do to make sure you're able to qualify in these qualifiers?
I got to get back on that groove that I was on, like that really steady groove. I don't know. You honestly, like one of the biggest ways for me to tell that I'm on that groove is like when I wrestle with you. It's like when we're wrestling in the room and we're moving and like I can feel like I'm like wrestling with you and it's not like I'm just like trying to defend myself. I don't know if that can make sense, but I feel like I'm wrestling for myself and not like to stop you from like getting your like deep underhook to like make sure I don't get scored on kind of thing, or like wrestling with Tyler, making sure he's not grabbing me. I'm like wrestling, moving, and like he's having the trouble of keeping up with me.
Yeah, just
Like
staying on the
getting in
outside
that
of the
groove.
hands,
Yeah, it's just like finding that groove and like maintaining that groove, and then mindset for sure is just. I think right now is like this COVID stuff has probably been really good because like it's been giving me like a lot of time to relax, reflect, and like look at videos. And like I've been watching like a bunch of videos of like a bunch of other wrestlers, watching my old matches, watching my Olympic trials match, and just like studying and be like, man, like I could have done this so much better. And like watching matches and like looking at guys, I'm like, man, this guy like takes a shot and like he doesn't like really like think about the consequences. And like usually most of the times like these guys are taking like shots that are not perfect and like scoring off of them like 80% of the time. It's just like knowing like I'm trying to embed in my mind that same like vibe in the sense of like being able to just attack and like know like you can take this guy down and you'll take this guy down and like continuing with the attack instead of like going in for the attack and then stopping and be like, oh shoot, now he has me in a body lock. It's like, no, just like go through it kind of thing. And like I feel like no matter how many times you practice that on the mat, once it comes to competition, you got to really like sit down at a different time and like reflect upon yourself. You'd be like, why am I not taking like those shots? And I feel like this has given me that time to really reflect on like why I'm not like pursuing these attacks a little bit farther than I should.
Nice. Like anything, like you're just finding a way to. I mean, the whole like cliche trying to turn a negative into a positive. Like this could be looked upon as like, damn, I was just getting back into my thing, and now this is taken away from me again. Well, you're finding a reason to better yourself for it again. So
yeah,
it's cool and to see like I don't know, like going through the past. I mean, I've been at Brock as long. Were you there a year before me or same
I
year?
think a year or
Yeah, you were there a year before me. So you've been there 7 years. I've been there 6 years, coaching for 6 years. And like to see, 6 years, like that's a long time, but it's not a long time in the same sense of like how many like trips we've been on and like to Korea and then knowing you going from Korea, like how crazy that training camp was. And then going right from there to like Bulgaria, was it after?
Yeah, a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Like, man, I'm dabbling in the jiu-jitsu world and MMA world, and you're seeing all these guys in the UFC and talking about the wrestler mindset and like, Cejudo posts or comments about like wrestling. It really is a crazy sport. The culture, the training, and the beating your body takes, like it's pretty incredible what the sport can bring out of people. And Jevon is,
And I think that's just it.
He's been through the grind, man. You've been through the grind the past 6 years.
I think that's just it. What the sport brings out of people, because it's more so like, I remember in 2014, I think it was. Yeah, I came second at the senior nationals, won the junior nationals. So I had to go to Commonwealth Games and then junior worlds a week later. And like, I remember making weight was not fun for me at the time.
No.
And I remember a bunch of people were like, man, I don't think Jevon should do it. He should just focus on junior worlds because he could do well, And then Marty's like asking me, he's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to do like Commonwealth Games and then go to junior worlds? It's super close together. I'm like, yeah, like why would I not want to do it? Like I was just thinking about it more so as an opportunity.
Yeah.
But then I realized I'm like, okay, I understand what people are saying, but alongside that, I feel like I needed that in order to grow. And I needed the experience of like wrestling like the top guys in the Commonwealth and then going right to Junior Worlds and being like, these guys are so good. Like these guys are at a different level. These guys been doing it for so long. These guys been through these experiences like way more times than I have. And I'm just like fresh into the scene, you know? So I feel like I really needed that wrestling like mentality where it's like you just like grind in the beginning of
You're
the
always seeking out those opportunities to put yourself in against the best guys in the world. Like, I mean, you travel down and you work with Dake, who's a world champion,
exactly.
couple-time world champion, and like, you know, rather than like shying away from the chance of losing, you like thrive on those like opportunities to train with the best guys. And I was just talking with Don today, Aaron Jeffries, about like it's just the mindset carries through to everything you do in the sport, and in a sport that I spend my whole life breaking down the techniques of a single leg, and it's the mindset that's going to get these guys to the level that Jevon's got to, because it carries through to everything, and the shortcomings and, you know, the highs and the lows, and just the way like you talk about staying on that even keel. And if you win, you're not all up on yourself, and if you lose, you're not going to bury yourself and drown your sorrows for 2 months straight. Like, you just stay on task. You keep it, you know, almost like keep it simple. Like, everything happens for a reason. Make the best of what you can do, and I don't know, it's cool. Along with hard work and all that shit.
It's super crazy because like
yeah,
even that same moment, it's like going to the Commonwealth Games. I get second at my first senior international tournament. I'm like on cloud nine. I'm like, I'm gonna go into these Junior Worlds. I'm gonna go kill it. But I'm thinking in my head, okay, make weight first. So I make weight. I'm on the scale. I see all these like amazing guys. I see the guy from Japan. He was amazing. I can't remember his name. I forget his name. Then there was the Aaron Pico in the weight class. There was the Yazdani. The Russian was good.
crazy.
And I'm just like, man, I'm so ready to like get my hands on one of these guys, right? First match, I get Yazdani right off the bat. I'm just like, all right, cool. Like I just got second at Commonwealth Games. I'm gonna see how I match up with this. He destroyed me. Just like there's no point. It was so hard to like stay. It was just like his pressure. Like that's when I realized like how good like having like a good pressure on someone like makes a difference, because it wasn't like he was attacking me and scoring right away. It was like he was attacking, I was fighting off of it, but he just kept going. I would defend and I would stop, and then he's just like, no, like I'm gonna keep going.
We're not stopping.
Like, yeah, exactly. He would not let it break, and like until we were either out of bounds or he went behind, and like it was just that for continuous like 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I didn't last the whole match. So after that match, I'm like, man, this guy's gonna lose. Like I'm out of this tournament. I like started packing my things up. And then I see him wrestling the Russian, and he starts beating up the Russian. And I'm like, holy, this guy is like so good. And this is when like not many people knew him. And then he gets into the finals with Aaron Pico. And then I'm on the backside. I had already packed my stuff. I'm like, shoot, I need to get ready. And like this is when I realized, I'm like, man, like you need to like keep that steady level like we were talking about, right? Yeah. It's like if you like go here or go here, it's gonna affect your performance. Because then I went in, had China for my next match. It was an okay match, but I should have definitely beat the guy. It was like, I don't remember, like 7-5, 7-4 or something. Ended up losing. Watch Yazdani win in the finals, beat the glorious Aaron Pico. And then the next year we're all at the world championships again, Yazdani. And then I just see Yazdani get second at the senior world championships. I'm like, holy, like there's something that we're missing. And then I'm just like be on the hunt to find that thing. And then like every year I can feel myself like getting closer to that thing.
Just picking away at it, man.
Yeah.
Do you have anything, Matt? Any questions? Anything else? I mean, I feel like we covered a lot of mindset. There's so many more questions. We could go on forever, but.
Yeah. No, that was I mean, you definitely dropped a lot on us there. That was cool, man. I guess I did have a question. Would you say that you developed a strong mind, or was this just something that you always had? So like when you first got to Brock and you first started wrestling, were you just like, this is easy, I can get through the practices and this is no problem, or was that something that you developed over time?
No, I think it was developed like throughout my childhood, like Chris was talking about. It's just like going through like not even like that much like adversity, but it's just like going through like the fights with my cousins and brothers, and they were always older than me. I'm like, man, I need to get them back someday. Like, so maybe like again, like going back to your question, maybe it was just like innate. It's just like because like at first when you like see your older sibling, you're not like, oh, I'm gonna beat him up one day. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Like, you always have that thought, but you never actually believe it. At that time, I'm like, no, I need to. Like, I feel like it's a must that I get these guys back for sure. So then I guess it translated into wrestling. But coming into the Brock room, I knew why I came there. Everyone always used to be like, oh, Brock is like such a hard training room. Like they train so hard all the time. You don't want to do that. Like you'll break down your body. And in my head, I was just like, no way. Like I want to be in that training room. I want to be able to get that experience. I want to be getting beat up so I can like grow. Cause like, I feel like you're not gonna get significantly better unless you're getting beat up. Like you're always going to be able to get better for sure. Like even if it's a 1%, 2%, but I feel like that me entering the Brock room and being like that much worse than those guys was so beneficial because like I had so much room to grow and I had so much like room to like between us that I could like bring the gap closer or even surpass
When you
something.
came into the Brock room, that would have been a crazy room to come into as a rookie. Like coming in out of high school, like it's a really crazy time to transition because like the age difference from like an 18-year-old to like a 25-year-old, like there really is a thing like man strength. And like a lot of these kids will come in, like Jevon was like, I mean, you won offset and stuff and nationals in your age category, but you're coming in and wrestling against like the Evan McDonald's, Ryan Weicker, guys like that. Like you realize like
that one like or top 3 at nationals at smaller weight classes like a Jake Hergenheim. I remember Mario would be like, all right, go wrestle with Jake Hergenheim because he wanted me to like realize how crucial hand fighting was. And
yeah.
Jake Hergenheim was so good at hand fighting. He was wrestling 5 kilos and I was wrestling like 65 kilos, but I was also like 70 something kilos at the time. And he was just destroying me. And I'm like, this guy is like so small. Like, how is this possible? And it's just like, I just needed to realize like how important hand fighting was. I need to realize how important like posture was with certain people. I need to realize how important that pressure was in order to like advance.
Yeah.
So obviously when you came to Brock, there was like you guys were saying that it was like kind of an adjustment period and you're facing like really high level guys in practice. Not saying that you don't have anyone to push you now, but how do you find that you improve at like a constant rate, like if you are the best person in the room? So like is that a challenge that you face? Is it more difficult, less difficult? Like can you maybe talk about that?
No, for sure. It's crazy. We got a ton of good coaches. Dave Colley, Chris Prickett, Marty Calder. They're all like watching me wrestle and like they'll be watching me wrestle. I'll be wrestling, let's say like a Tyler Rowe or Ty Bridgewater, and they'll be like, give this reaction to Jevon because we need him to like get through being able to stop that because sometimes I'll get stuck in that position. So they'll make sure you get him stuck in that position so he can like bounce out of that. So they'll really give me like put me in the right situations that so I can like learn while I'm wrestling. So it gives me like like a natural feel instead of like them making me do it kind of thing. And I think that was the best way for me to learn with them. But then I also got the training partners like Cruz Manning, Ty Bridgewater, Tyler Rowe. And it's so crazy because every time I watch them wrestle out there, I'm like, they give me so much of a harder time than like any of those guys that I wrestle. I go out there and like I'll like text a lot of these guys and like I go watch them wrestle. I'm like, what is going on? And like Rick is like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just like the mindset. Because in the room, it's like these guys are getting, maybe they know my moves. I don't know what it is, but in the room, it's like there's no easy time. Like I'm never like going into the room and being like, okay, like this is gonna be boring. I'm gonna beat these guys all up, blah blah blah. No, it's never like that. It's always just like, all right, every day is like I gotta make sure to like let these guys know that I'm the best in the room, but it's never easy, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a great room especially at that weight class, man. We're so deep at 74 kilos. Like, arguably, you could say we have like the top, 3-4 guys in the country. Like top.
For sure.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But along with that, yeah, like, I mean, he travels a lot. Jevon travels a lot to training camps, and he's been down to Cornell a bunch of times to train with Kyle Dake. So we always travel. I feel like mixing it up too. You're always seeing different rooms and competition too. Like, I mean, maybe you compete a little bit less now than you did like a few years ago, but always seeking out tough competitions too, I think is important.
Yeah, that's been the latest venture that the coaches have been putting me on. They're making sure I go down to the States, train with Dake, former two-time world champions, hasn't been scored on in one of the world championships.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then Yanni, which gives me a crazy feel. So it's just like, even though he's smaller than I am, it's just like his feel with wrestling is so different than like any other wrestler. So like getting me the different feels, getting me like different opponents, getting me really good guys to wrestle against is like, I think all of that really benefits the progress.
I think that so much comes to, haven't really talked about it, but kind of the last thing I wanted to bring up was just like the Marty Calder mindset. And like, I've been to a lot of different gyms and martial arts gyms and jiu-jitsu and wrestling and around the world. And one thing is like Marty is not afraid of sending someone to another place to make sure they're getting the right work at the right time and making sure we go seek out opportunities to learn from other people and always having the idea that we're, every year and every year since I've been at Brock, we've won the national championships on the men and the women's side for varsity and had extreme success. And every year it's back to the start. This is our first year. It doesn't matter what happened last year. It doesn't, it's always that. And that mindset like trickles down from our leader and Marty and seeking out challenges and putting yourself in a position where maybe you are uncomfortable or in a foreign place or against people that, going down to Iowa, one of the, it's like renowned as the toughest training environment in the world for wrestling, putting ourselves in those situations and just more opportunities. And that's something that Marty's always done. And it's just, I don't know, I think it's that, and along with it, like being able to take your beats and bounce back from them and learn from your losses and stuff. And that's it.
And knowing that practice is practice, right? Like I feel like a lot of people dwell.
That's huge, man.
Their practices, and it's just like you can't dwell on your practices, man. If you're dwelling on something that's trying to get you better, then it's like, are you really getting better? You're like bringing yourself back a little bit. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's like the progress isn't as fast. You got to like not dwell. Like look at it, but okay, I got scored on today. Like it's okay. Like you're gonna get scored on. You're wrestling. Like these people know what they're doing. They're talented. It's like, how do I make that better? How do I make sure that they don't score on me next time? How do I stop this sequence from happening?
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Do you got anything else, Chris?
No, I'm good. What are we at?
I think we're at about 40 minutes.
Maybe open it up to if anyone's got a question. I'm just trying to see who's all on here right now. Or we can just say fuck
chat
them.
wants to ask any questions for Jevon. Please feel free to use that.
I got a quick one. I noticed
Tim.
from when I wrestled against Jevon. Yeah. When I used to wrestle against Jevon when he was still with Heart Lake, he had a very different style than when he was at Brock. How much does he credit to like going international or the I don't know, youth sports mindset, or what was the biggest change he had with switching out of high school up to university experience?
It's crazy actually, because I remember being on a plane and I had a bunch of old matches on my laptop and I was just sitting there. Prickett comes and sits beside me. He's like, man, I'm bored. I'm like, all right, what do you want me to do about it? He's just like, give me something to watch. I'm like, well, I was watching old videos of me. You want to watch? So we started watching old videos of me, and like me and Prickett are looking at this video and we're just both like, man, you wrestled the exact same. It's so crazy. But the thing is, it's like, you can see the difference in like the awareness. You can see the difference in the confidence. You can see the difference in like as I was talking about, like acknowledging the pressure that I need to create, acknowledging the techniques I need to execute, acknowledging like the scrambles. Like everything was just like more like, how do I say, like intertwined and smooth. It looked like, instead of it looking like super choppy, it looked just more like a straight line. It's just like, it was just crazy. It just looked more clean. Everything was I don't even know the word for it right now. But
fine.
A lot more polished now. Like,
yeah, a lot more polished.
There's so many intricacies in the hand fight that that this guy works on, and like his inside control and making sure he's deep this way and not flaring his, like there's just so many little things that it's those little things that you've worked on over the past since you've been in high school. Sometimes it's not like to the naked eye, like there's just someone watching, you might not see too big of differences, but like the amount of time we've worked on like that single leg and making sure your head's postured and making sure you're not getting covered over on your single leg. And if you do fit, like just those little things, I feel like every single day, the whole 1% better, it's just little things every single day. It hasn't been like, you don't have a brand new move that you do per se, maybe a couple things, but really, yeah, you got some, like a lot of the same moves, but it's just all the little details that you've polished and just, I don't know, gotten better every day, every month, every year. You've just added, and it just adds up.
And the realization of like the single leg is like, he'll take like when I used to take a single leg, it'd just be like, all right, just run him out of bounds. And then like they showed me a little thing of like hike the leg out. It's just like knowing to do that and like instinctively doing that right away in a match is like just through practice, just like repeating it out a bunch of times and knowing like right away, boom, you have to pick it out, or right away, you have to chest pressure kind of thing. But yeah, I don't think my style has changed too much though. Maybe like in terms of like, I don't know, I wouldn't say it changed a bunch, but it's definitely more smooth and like relaxed. Before it was just like go attack and like get him, like don't even set anything up. I feel like I got better at getting my hands on the person, feeling them out, and yeah, I just got a better feel.
It's good. It's much more technical than physical than I remember.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. If you wrestle him now, you wouldn't say that, man. It's fucking terrible. I don't want to boost him up anymore, but then I already have. But it's literally wrestling Jevon right now. Like for the people that get to train with him, it's a terrible experience. It reinforces why I don't wrestle anymore on the regular. If I ever have a second guess, I wrestle him, because the hand fighting, what we keep talking about, the hand fighting, that's not like, that's just like how to pull on someone's head and how to like push someone around and manipulate their body with your hands, not even shooting a leg or anything like that. His hand fighting is ridiculous, and it's to try to even stand in your wrestling stance for 6 minutes feels like I'd rather go run a marathon right now than do that. So I still train with a lot of the guys. I don't want to talk any shit about MMA guys because it's a crazy sport in its own, but the physicality of wrestling and Jevon's style is very, very physical with the hands. He's not like a pitter patter, like he's got some slick stuff, but it's very it's exhausting to keep up with him. So I feel like that's something that's probably changed a lot from what I've noticed before to now. Like from 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I felt like he was really good with a lot of things, but after like a couple minutes of wrestling him back then versus now, it's a whole different level of fatigue that you'll feel, and you'll get dragged into deep waters, and that's a big part of wrestling is being able to withstand
deep
like
waters,
exhaustion.
100%.
That's like a real thing in the sport, is like at 1 minute how you feel versus at 5 minutes how you feel. It's a lot of times it's the hand fighting where you're wearing someone down and getting someone more fatigued where you can attack and score. So that's something I feel like has probably changed the most in his wrestling.
I just had one more question for you, Jevon. So you mentioned that you wanted to stop wrestling in 2020. Maybe that's getting pushed back because of the whole COVID situation.
Yeah, for sure.
What's next after that, man?
I don't know. Maybe coaching a little bit for sure. Like give back. I definitely want to give back, especially like gaining the knowledge that I've gained, especially going to all the training camps, going to Korea, going to Cornell, going to Iowa. I want to be like, man, there's like so many like young kids coming up that I'm like, man, these kids can be the next like big thing in like wrestling, not even just Canada wrestling. They could be the next big thing in wrestling in general. It's like you see a bunch of them doing it right now, like the Stone Lewis, the Lachlan McNeils. Like these kids are like the next big things, So it's like I want to like kind of like be able to be there for them. So maybe like help coach a bit, that's it that I see right now.
That's cool.
If you're like trying to stipulate MMA, definitely not.
No. But like, do you ever do
Dude,
like?
Matt McDonald was hoping you were gonna say jujitsu, Brazilian
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu in the gi.
Yeah, you got.
He doesn't want anything to do with that.
Bring him out to Bora.
I'm the Bora.
No, go to Niagara Top Team, man. That's close.
No, like I go out there sometimes, but it's not for me.
Compete in some white belt tournaments. I feel like that'd be a nightmare.
No, I don't like jiu-jitsu that much. It's too, I don't know. You can break bones. That's crazy. I know you can tap before all that happens, but
you can break bones in wrestling too, man.
I know, but like that's not the objective. The objective.
It's not the objective. It's just the reality, the consequence.
I feel like
for wrestling. With jiu-jitsu, it's like your objective is choke this person out.
Yeah.
Make them tap. Like,
yeah,
make sure they can't like roll with you anymore, kind of thing.
He's too wholesome for jiu-jitsu.
Does Chris ever force you to do jits?
Yeah, he always does.
The thing that we haven't talked about is Jevon's a big sweetheart. He's got a real soft spot. So,
anyways, yeah, he always does. Him, Joe Martin, all those jiu-jitsu guys at our club.
I know Joey.
Yeah, they always try to like come here, Luke. They always try to like put me in like weird situations. I'm like, I don't want to do this, and like I end up doing jiu-jitsu because I'm trying to fight out of it. But
yeah, just to think he never wanted to wrestle. I mean that's maybe this has come full circle, right?
I think so.
It just took one of his friends to say it was cool, and then there you go. All right,
yeah, so that was great. Jevon, Chris, thanks guys. That was a lot of fun. Thank you everyone who joined and chimed in. That was awesome, and we're just gonna keep this going. Stay safe, everyone, and keep training when it's legal.
Thanks, coaches.
Okay, see you guys. Thanks, Jevon.
take care.